Alright, mic check, mic check. Alright, mic check, mic check. Okay, good. Alrighty, so on screen right now, please get into Twitch, by the way. On screen right now is a preview of what the homework is going to be for this week. I'm going to have you go through different films and try to basically play a game of bingo, more or less, with finding shots in certain scenes or whatever, maybe in certain sequences, and you can even jump around on this board here. Different films, same films, whatever. Whatever you want. And you'll be filling out 8 rows. I actually left out 1 row here. There is one that's supposed to go here, which is the medium full shot. So as a easy handy guide for what the different shots are, I have found this little thing that somebody made that I'm going to upload in chat, and I'll put it on screen right here. This is a janky little CG model guy, but he shows off a pretty good. It shows off in a pretty clear to understand way what the difference between certain types of shots are. And that's what we're going to be focusing on today, but we're also going to be analyzing films of Satoshi Kon and directors that are either adjacent to or have been influenced by him, like Christopher Nolan and Darren Aronofsky. So what I want you to do for the homework this week is I want you to fill up a page of about like 5 squares in a row like that, and then or actually like it's more like 5 columns actually, and then like 8 columns in 5 rows. Well, you get the idea. Like 5 panels of each of these, basically, from any sources you can find. I would recommend like going through just like films you like, and try to like basically play a game of bingo of like, oh, that's that kind of shot. Oh, that's that kind of shot. Exercise your judgment calls. The idea of this is I want people to get like familiar with shot with like the basic mechanics of shot structure. Of course, like this exercise is just all about like the base mechanics, like the continuity between the shots is not something that is going to necessarily be covered by this particular assignment, but we will be doing that in a future class. This is all about like bare bones mechanics of just like understanding what shot is what. We'll get more into the nitty gritty about how shots connect with each other. We'll actually touch on that today, but in terms of this exercise, we're going to just be kind of like finding different shots to collect, basically, because there's a lot of different ways to do these kinds of shots. Like this is a quick drawing from Lord of the Rings. I'm not sure what film this is from. I recognize it, but I forgot what it was. So, and several of these are Perfect Blue. This one's from Django Unchained. A bunch of them are from one sequence from Perfect Blue that we're actually going to take a look at, that I was looking at before class. You can also do stuff like, I will also allow a couple panels to be like this. Like in this scene right here, which is really important, there's this full shot right here, and then later, like, it's the same full shot, but that character that was standing there is gone. I'll allow a couple of those, especially if you put them like right next to each other or something. I will allow a couple of like changes and stuff. You can even do something like this shot, for example. This shot is actually starts as basically a extreme long shot, and then pulls inside, and we get to focus on these 2 characters that are in close-up or medium close-up. But yeah, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking a look at Satoshi Kon's films. We're going to be looking at Paprika and Perfect Blue, and we're also going to be looking at Inception from Christopher Nolan, and I think we're probably going to try to... Yeah, there's one scene from Requiem for a Dream we're going to look at. And there's might be a couple other things we'll fit in there too, depending on how much time we have. But what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going through those films to show examples of the different types of shots, and we're all going to be drawing them along together. I'll be filling out my bingo board of shots along with you. I've essentially done part of the homework already myself here. Although I'll keep doing it on the bingo board. I was thinking of using Storyboard Pro for this, but I think I'm going to keep filling out the bingo board. I'm going to have to add another row too for the medium full shot, because some of these that I have here, like this one, count as a medium full, and I'll have to move that and adjust that. But in any case, let's go over real quick what these shots actually are. Let me actually put up the reference here so it'll be on screen on my Twitch. Put that over here. And now I'll switch the OBS camera. That's a little bit too much. There we go. Alright, so that's up in the corner there. So, it's pretty straightforward what's going on here. Like, but we're going to look at some other examples, like from Google image search and stuff, that should give some ideas of just how wildly varied these shots can be, like these different shots can be. Oops. So let's see here. I'm going to move this layer out of here so I can start using this little field guide for myself. Alright, so I'm going to copy paste at least 8 of these real quick. Alrighty, so one of the most common shots that you'll find in cinema is going to be the medium shot. And that, of course, is usually around waist height for the subject. Like so. In this case, for the shot, the subject is framed in the center, but the subject could be like standing over here. The subject could be filmed from above. Or from below. But like, the same amount of their body is still shown in the shot. There could be other characters at different heights around it and stuff. It's usually like you define the shot by what is the center of focus in it. Like there could be further background stuff going on back here that goes way into the background, but the focus here is on this guy here, or this area. So that is a medium. This is, and then we're gonna jump straight up into close-up. It's also an extremely common shot. Close-up is usually you get a full view of someone's face. Or a full view of an object, usually about from something like the same distance. And of course, same rules as the other one, like you can have maybe a face over here, kind of off panel, or off screen partially. You can have people looking up or down, full face in the frame and stuff. And I'm going over the extreme. I'm going over like the main ones so far, and then we'll get to like these little in-between ones here. So the next one is the full shot. Full shot, of course, is full body or full subject. Like you can see all of the subject. If the subject is a car, then you see all of the car, for example. subject's a human being, you see all the human being. And also technically if the subject's like a dog, you'd see all the dog. Maybe at the dog's eye level. But yeah. Let's sit here. Get the fan on. So the template for the homework, you can make one yourself. But I think I'll try to see if I can provide a template for you. It's not hard to make these, but really, these aren't even accurate to 16:9 ratio. I just kind of guesstimated. So yeah, full shot would be something like this. The next one would be the long shot. And the long shot is, usually the subject is basically dominated by the background, and you're a good ways away from them. Something like this. It can be different angles and different heights, like you might have like a long shot overhead, something like that. Big old crane long shot and stuff. So then after going through these kinds of main shots for shot structure, you can get into extremes. This would be extreme long shot, which is like really pushing it, like people become like ants basically. It's kind of subjective what extreme is, but extreme can be like way out there. I mean, you could, when you're talking extreme long shot, it could technically be like a zoom out to planet Earth or something. I mean, you could be pulled all the way back and just see buildings and not see any people. Like you might see a bridge here or something. Yeah, extreme long shot is pretty out there, and by the same token, extreme close-up. Even the example that they do here is not nearly as extreme as extreme close-ups can get, so I'm just going to do like this. And one thing about extreme close-ups, on certain character designs and animation, it becomes very hard to get away with doing extreme close-ups. For example, I actually heard it said that about the character design for The Simpsons. Let's see if I can do Homer from. Let's see how close I get with Homer from memory here. Definitely way off model. It's easy to mess up Homer without reference if you haven't memorized them. Looks like a condom, but oh well. So like the Simpsons characters are designed with really simple shapes, which is great for design stuff. But let's say you were doing a close-up of Homer, like on his eye or his mouth or something, like an extreme close-up. I mean, what are you even looking at this point? You're just looking at a white dot, basically. And I think on The Simpsons they've actually done stuff like this, but it was always handled in like a tongue-in-cheek way and usually connected to other stuff, so you could actually tell what the hell you're looking at. Yeah, Jet, we're watching it on Twitch. Click my profile for the Twitch link if you are not currently in. So anyway, we'll move Homer to the side here. Got to practice your homers, folks. But anyway, that's something to keep in mind about character design. Like sometimes character designs need to change in certain distance shots. Like you might get characters. You'll see it a lot in anime, in particular. You'll see characters that are drawn like really, really simply, close up. Like let's do like kind of an Astro Boy type head here. And then let's say you were doing a close-up of Astro Boy's eye. Suddenly, an extreme close-up of Astro Boy's eye. Suddenly, it gets more like a little bit more like a realistic eye. Just for that, like let's say Astro Boy's going under robot surgery or something, and they're examining him with like a laser, microscope. You might see stuff like that. You'll also see things like characters like way in the background in anime drawn like really, if you like zoom in on them, they're like drawn really, really flimsy, like just blotches of color, really, really tiny, way in the backdrop. Or you'll see them simplify them in different ways at certain distances. There's mechanics to get away with this kind of stuff. Just about anything. Wow, that got really chunky when I zoomed out. When I shrunk it. I'll just move those up there. Those are fun. So, I'm gonna fill out the other. I'm gonna fill out the other couple shots, and then I'll answer some questions. Alright, let's see here. So there's a couple of shots in here that are kind of a blur between close-up and medium close-up. That would be the medium close-up. And the medium full. Now, how these differentiate from each other is usually the medium full, you see a little bit more of the subject. Usually, in the case of people, usually you see some more of their legs without like all of their legs. It's usually like the upper torso for the medium, and then like some of their thighs or something like that for this. If it was that car subject in the background, it might be part of the car's tires are cut off or something. For medium close-up, you get to see some of the torso, but like maybe half of it. In the example they gave that is on the reference, which I think is a pretty good example, I'd say that's like a little bit below the nipple line. As opposed to medium, where you pretty much get like all the torso there. All the meaty goodness of human ribcage. Alright, so now that you understand these basic building blocks, we're going to take a look at some examples of these. Well, actually, I'm going to answer some questions first before I move on. But we're going to take a look at some examples of those, and then we're going to move on to actually drawing some of these. So get your templates ready. Just draw a lot of squares. They don't have to be perfect. You're just going to try to like fit quick thumbnail drawings that kind of are like the composition, to kind of just sort of understand what you're looking at. You're not really going to be doing these to make pretty doing these studies to make pretty drawings, although I've seen some amazingly pretty studies by a lot of storyboard artists and composition artists, like comp artists and background painters on shows, who do like, for warm-ups, they do like really quick, really well done studies with like flat tone, sometimes with gradation. I actually want to find maybe some of those to show sometime in the future. We might integrate that into a future lesson, but For now, I just want people to dip their toes into understanding different types of shots. Actually, before I'm going to check the chat for questions real quick. I think there's a couple things in here. Overseer Soul 1536 in my Twitch chat says there's a scene in My Hero Academia season 4 with Overhaul where they do exactly that. It zoomed in on his eye before getting whacked. Yep. You will see a lot of in Sakuga. You will see a lot of moving camera shots that transition between these quickly. Like, the thing about this is, like, there's a billion different ways to do these, and you can mix and match aspects of them together. Sometimes one shot that is one thing basically becomes another thing, like, depending on who's in focus at the moment. Like, if, like, a long shot right here or like a long shot like this can turn into a close-up if a character walks on screen. Hello. It's still technically a long shot, but it's also a close-up on this guy. Same thing, like even though this guy's like the focus, like here, let's say like this got blurred out, and then we get focus on this guy back here, so that it becomes a long shot. And you can control and direct the eye using focus too. That's another subject we'll cover a little bit more in the future. There's going to be some examples of that in some of the clips that I've brought tonight or today. Koala Destro, I'm not too concerned about value, I'm just concerned about people getting the basic structure of the shots down. But if you want to put value into them, you're welcome to. Just do it however you feel works for you. I don't want people really wrestling with trying to do things right or wrong. I just want people to kind of look and understand what they're looking at. Just using drawing as a tool for that. It would be a good idea to try to maybe integrate stuff like sky planes and ground planes and stuff. If you're trying to learn something, improve at something in drawing, then maybe you can use this as an opportunity to exercise a little bit of that, or inject a little bit of that while you're doing these studies. But if you get too caught up into making pretty drawings, it's going to slow down paying attention to what we're trying to mainly get out of this right now. But just take it at your own pace. You can make, if you want to, you could like do like quickie things like this, and then you can go back through and make pretty ones. Like really crazy value studies or whatever. And value is very important in composition too, of course, because it also helps direct focus. But that's not our focus this time. Our focus is on the basic structure of these shots. So with that in mind, is it possible you could do a storyboarding class on Wes Anderson's films in the future? Yes, definitely. Remind me of that, actually, because I want to actually do that. That would be a fantastic Mr. Foxy idea, in my opinion. So, let's see. How do you storyboard a fisheye views? Well, you have to understand 5-point perspective, which we actually covered in our perspective class. But yeah, fisheye lens, that is a focal length thing, and that involves the use of perspective. That does not have to necessarily do with these shot types, because there'd be different types of lenses used. You could use different types of lenses on all kinds of these different shots for different effects and different warping feelings and so on. Like, you can do a long shot that was like with a narrow lens, or a long shot with you can do a long shot with a wide lens or a long shot with a narrow lens, and it changes the look of things completely. But it's still a long shot, or it's still a things either flatten out or they get warped. Basically, is the difference. And fisheye being the most extreme example, one of the most extreme examples of that kind of warping. So, let's see. If there's any other questions I might have missed. I think that's it. Alright, so I'm going to grab our first clip, which will be actually something I was working on before the class. So I will link it in Discord chat and also Twitch chat, because why not? Oops. Actually, I think it would be too convenient. Okay, here. Yeah, David Lynch would be a good person to use, would be a good director to use for sure. As someone pointed out in Twitch chat. But here's the clip of Perfect Blue, linked in both chats, that we're going to be using to analyze. So I'll try to give a little context for this scene, and I'll bring it on camera. I'm going to maybe nuke the audio on this, because I'm hoping that this doesn't get me copyright stricken or whatever. But anyway, I'll try to give context for what's going on here after when we go through it. But first, I want people to kind of see it first, without the audio though, because I don't want to risk a copyright strike or something. I'm pretty sure I'm able to display this just for educational purposes though. Alright, so the context for this clip is at this stage in the film, the main character here is starting to like kind of like lose her grip on reality and fantasy. So this starts off with like a long shot here of like ships in the harbor and stuff, and as we saw in like one of the videos I ran before class, there's a big play in this film between the colors red and blue. So pay very close attention to where red comes in and where blue comes in. So anyway, the lines of dialogue are. It sounds like she's talking to like a friend. That like this, the way the scene is set up, it's almost set up like she's like talking to a friend we haven't met yet, who is like commiserating with her about the awful shit she's going through. But instead, it's actually lines of dialogue from a TV show she's working on. And then, when we realize that, we get a shot of like these red buildings here. This is a long shot right here, and this previous shot here was a long shot that turned into a close-up, and arguably a medium close-up. Yeah, that's completely a long shot right there. And that's of course a close-up. Another close-up with two subjects this time. That would be a full shot right there. Dead center full shot, in fact. Close. That would be a medium close-up. Sorry, I went back a little bit too far there. So that guy was is someone who's been stalking her from earlier in the film, and she suspects that he's responsible for. I think there was I'm not sure. I forget what point this is in the film, but there was like a letter bomb that was sent to, intended for her, that exploded on one of her crew members on her TV show. So she's like unnerved about what's going on. This is full shot, medium close up. Close up. Still full shot. And that guy has vanished. If you notice in the first shot we saw, like, it's like he's a ghost. It's like he's not even there. Like none of these background characters have reacted to his presence between the two shots. So it's questionable whether he was even there at all, or whether the main character is hallucinating him. And if you notice, there's a play between blue umbrellas, red structures, blue because he comes like he's like kind of a representative of her past identity as a pop idol, now trying to make it as an actress. If you notice, look at how her head is framed. Like her head is like right there inside the stage light reflectors there. Like she's the only one who's like in that kind of like halo of fantasy, basically. Whereas all these other people are like the crew members who exist in reality, the director and everyone. She gets yoinked back into reality here a little bit, or so she thinks. She's kind of dressed ambiguously, but the character she's talking to is dressed in blue. Yeah, Studio Gimmick points out that you're not supposed to know what's real and what is not in this. Yeah, definitely. There's actually multiple ways to interpret this film too, because of that, and that's on purpose. Good. I think the best art out there invites audience participation in interpreting the film. Now, you can draw if you want, but we're not drawing just yet. I'm just giving people context for this a little bit. I'm going to fast forward through the rest of the film, because then we're going to go through shot by shot to pull segments from it. I'm doing the stuff that I've already drawn first off because I have some thoughts on these that I noticed when I was drawing them. So there's these two background characters here. If you notice, like the background characters are almost dehumanized. Like we don't get very much visual information in their faces, and they almost seem like static puppets, and that's on purpose. Like Satoshi Kon could have made these characters feel more lively than they are, but they almost don't feel like real people. That becomes a close-up with that character moving across there. And then we go to a long... This is that one thing I was talking about. The long shot of the bridge. Camera pulls back. Focus changes to... about a close-up, I want to say, actually. A close-up or a medium close-up of these characters, who are the main character's former pop group members, and they're now successfully running a radio show where it's like a radio talk show talking about pop idol news and stuff. They've like successfully transitioned their career from being pop idols to being radio talk show hosts. This lovely shot, definitely would say that shot right there, even though it's like cut them off at the legs a bit, this is almost kind of a full... Actually, this would be probably a medium full up shot, I would say. You could argue that this is also kind of a long shot too. And close up. She's happy to get in touch with her former colleagues. If you notice, the studio is red back here. Red. Everything. She's coming in here is red. And that, of course, was the color of the outfit that she wore when she was in the pop group. And she sees she sees a ghost basically of her former self, like as a hallucination almost, in the room with the other two oblivious former colleagues from her pop group. Still oblivious. She's freaking out because of the hallucination. This entire chase scene, I think that I really would want to analyze this today for sure. Like this entire segment here. It's a moving shot right there. There's a lot of moving camera shots, which are much easier to do now with CG tools. So you see them a lot more in animation these days. That, and because of the WebGen Sakuga animators that really pushed playing with that. Yeah. One of the things I like about this is setting up the contrast between her look at how light on her feet like a Tinkerbell, the fantasy version of herself is, compared to the reality of her. She slips and falls and she feels pain. But the pop idol image of her is above any of that kind of stuff. They're even lit like supernaturally, like a ghost or an angel. And the contrast between the pop idol fantasy didn't even leave much of a splash in here, but for her. And there's so much contrast between what happens. As you notice in the background there, there's a... You notice in the background when she's running by here, there's a lot of red and blue umbrellas. And more contrast between the fantasy and reality going on here. These characters don't notice the fantasy running by. But we get a telegraph too. I mean, it's obvious that something like this would happen in a situation like this, but you have to telegraph these things to an audience, and you also have to reinforce them, and reinforcing them in creative ways is kind of visually interesting. It's visually interesting for this whole storytelling thing of the fact that you're chasing a ghost, basically, that no one else can see, and the social consequences of bumping into people on the street while chasing this thing you can't see, and also setting up how oblivious she is to anything but chasing the ghost right now. which of course sets this up. She's hit by the isekai truck. Remember me, motherfucker! And then she wakes up in an isekai world with level 99 abilities or whatever. Who gives a shit? But, or check that out, look, red, blue pillows. There's also a green one, but red, blue pillows. Her room is kind of red, but then we got blue over there. Some blue over there. She's actually got fish in the movie that die at a certain point and then mysteriously come back to life. It's implied that her, that like the person who's manipulating her is doing that. Like trying to make her question reality, trying to make him undermine her sense of reality. But the fish she has are blue and red neon tetras, which of course hook into the visual themes of the film, and blood being red, obviously, blue being peace, calm, also depression and other things. But anyway, so we could go more into the symbolism of the film, but what I really want to analyze right now is the shot structure here. So we already went through some stuff that I already analyzed earlier, and it would just be a repeat for me if I were to do that now. So we're going to pick a point in this to start breaking down the shots from. I really kind of want to do this action scene, although it might be very challenging because everything is moving. So we'll have to kind of pick shots and make judgment calls about what is what. Like there's some moving camera shots that's going to be a little bit harder to do that with, but I think it's worth trying. Let me just pick a part to start with this. I think we should start sooner to the action scene, maybe. Yeah, we'll try that. We'll do that, and we'll do like the calm scene before like the crazy shit happens. Maybe start about here, because this is like an interior establishing shot, almost. So yeah, I'm going to set up another. Let's see. I'm going to set up another grid for myself real quick. I'm actually going to increase the size here so I have more resolution to draw with on these. I'll actually see if I can, I'll make this into a template and then I will upload it to the Discord channel. How's that? Then people could try using it. Just load it into your art programs as you need. This is not like a perfect aspect ratio, but it's like it's squares that will kind of work for this. So I'm going to save a duplicate PNG. That should be pretty good. Oh, some of them uploaded a page of 16 by 9 panels. Way to upstage me, bro. Yeah, they can use that too. Yeah, that's a good. Actually, that's really nice. I'm gonna steal that. Thank you very much, sir. Saved me a lot of copy pasting work. But because I've been lazy, because I'm being lazy about doing that, I'm going to make sure that I, let's see here. Make sure that I open a new file and start from scratch. So why not? Oof. That might not be the right size for this. I think I have to open the file itself. Okay. So allow me to layer under that, lock this so I don't mess it up. There we go. You probably actually could play a game of bingo using this, but you'd have to like set up some kind of like some sort of order in which these are filled out. But in any case, let's see what we got here. So we got this. This is I'm gonna actually bring my cheat sheet over here so I can have that handy for myself. Oh, and this would be a good time to plug my Ko-fi page, actually, before we move on further. I'm doing these classes for free, but every little bit helps. Subscribing to me on Twitch helps, sending me bits help, and of course donating to my Ko-fi page, which is right here. I will link that in Twitch, and whatnot. I've actually overdone my first goal here. I'm going to be ordering this soon. I'm actually going to be a generous relative has actually who likes what I'm doing with the classes has actually offered to help pay for part of a powerful new PC that'll let me run classes a lot easier here. So some of the money left over from this is going to be going towards that. But yeah, any little bit helps. You can also help me with Twitch Prime subs, or regular subs, or bits through Twitch, or you can just you can donate to me through Ko-fi. With Ko-fi, it doesn't take any overhead; it just goes straight to my PayPal account. By the way, so I'm gonna link that in both the chats real quick, and then we'll move on. All right, so what we got here is, according to my cheat sheet, this is a what would you say this is, chat? I'm gonna pop quiz you. What type of shot would you say that this one is that's on screen, based on what we've seen so far? Someone said medium shot. You could say it's a medium shot. It's pretty close to a medium shot, and it's somewhere closer. It's somewhere around medium shot or medium close up. So it's your judgment call about whether you will put this in the medium close up or the medium shot. Because of the reason why I'm going to put this in medium shot is because of these two guys back here. And that's just my call on this, because this technically could be defined either way. Oh, skip that. Okay. All right. So if you haven't already started drawing, start drawing now. I'm gonna leave maybe like make sure it references the focus of interest on screen right now while I draw along, and we'll all draw along together. And I'm not too concerned about drawing well for this. This is more about an exercise of just understanding the shot, understanding the language of cinematography here. But I am going to try to, but I did try to like increase the resolution on these so I have a little bit more fidelity to work with the pen tool that I'm using. You don't need to go overly detailed. It might be a good idea to put a little bit of like kind of a perspective grid, like I'm putting in something like that for the table here. And there is, if you look in the background, there is actually a little bit of perspective on that door frame, so you can include that. You can actually pretty much judge where the vanishing point would be if you really scrutinize this shot too, because there's other things in the shot that are going in perspective. But we're not too concerned about getting that right. I'm just going to make some notes about kind of where I think a sky plane would be or something, or like the ceiling. We can kind of see this. I don't think we actually can see the ceiling in this, can we? It's hard as hell. I don't have a good angle on seeing that. But if you notice, like, both of these characters are also framed in the composition by the sound box behind them too. So you maybe include a little bit of the border there. Also, the other thing that this shot implies is like the control that men have over women's lives in this, in like society. Like these two pop idol character talk show hosts that have a couple of sound controller men just standing behind them, helping them engineer their image for their radio disc jockey careers, basically. Someone's asking in the Twitch chat about sending a link to the Discord. Here, I'm going to swing you an invite. There's no restrictions on people getting invited here, but just be aware there are some hoops you have to jump through. You have to have a verified phone number if you're in the Discord, and you have to read the rules section and activate yourself before you're able to access stuff. So just keep that in mind. Here, I'll post it in chat for you. There is a Discord invite link for people that are wandering in from Twitch to watch this class right now. So anyway, I've got about as much in this shot as I'm wanting to get right now. Maybe I'll just add a little bit more to kind of imply this stuff here. But we're going to move on to the next shot. So. If you notice, technically, like the point of focus here sort of changes, so we get a little bit more of these characters. This is, you could even say, because you can even say that this is like a almost halfway cut off full shot invading this. But here we go here. So, what shot would you say that this is? Someone asked, what's the difference between Ko-fi and Patreon? Ko-fi is just a direct donation thing. Patreon is usually a subscription thing. I haven't set up a Patreon yet, so I'm just taking direct donations for now. Someone said this is a full shot. No, I wouldn't say so. Consider who the focus of the shot is. Yeah, that would probably be closer to a medium full shot or a medium shot, since her legs are kind of cut off here. So this, you could probably say either or. I would lean more in the direction of medium shot. Because only part of her thighs are visible anyway. So I'm gonna make the judgment call and say medium shot, and this will be what I draw. So we have a very squared background right here. It's almost flat. There is maybe arguably a little bit of perspective going on the man in the foreground's shoulders, but it's not too apparent. Hang on 1 second, I gotta reorder some things. Okay. So we'll be drawing this now. I'm going to start with the man who's in the foreground here. I'm going to maybe just darken him in. I'm going to do this man who is at lower height to him, which also implies depth and and a little bit of perspective. So in terms of the storytelling of the scene, like, the man who's managing her life is this man over here who's like cut off from her. He's basically her man. I think he's her manager or something. I forget what the specifics were about him. But he's in charge of like managing her acting career, I think. Is what it was. So she's coming like almost crossing over the center frame here, I notice. Yeah, she's crossing over the center frame a little bit when she bows, which makes her much more the center of focus in this shot. So yeah, like, so the storytelling in this shot is like, okay, so there's like a hierarchy thing going on here. You get a later shot from her point of view, and and this will become more apparent when we shift to a different shot. There's a hierarchy thing going on here. He's at the top, she's the next down. She's not; these guys aren't running her life, so she's able to kind of look down on them. And then she's able to see downwards into the booth further of like the hierarchy of control going on here. Like you think this is going to be pretty welcoming. Like she's in a good mood and stuff. Like it's not going to be anything horrible happening. So we get this, and then there's of course a lovely principle of Spielberg filmmaking that I always love seeing in films, which is reacting to something off screen that we don't see just yet. And Steven Spielberg really loves doing that, especially characters gazing off in wonder at stuff. Stanley Kubrick also does it in The Shining. With a very scared little child and some other things. So this shot right here, I think it should be pretty easy to guess what this one is. So I'll let you guys go to it. You could argue that this is a medium close-up. Oh, I just realized that I meant to put that in the medium shot category, but oh well. That works, still works. When you're doing these, you also might want to include some of the things that are framing the character, like that blue band that's cutting the middle, that bluish band of silver that's cutting, and metal on the wall that's cutting between the red. Kind of framing her in the shot a little bit. I think this one could technically be a medium close-up too, but I'm going to put it in here. I can always move them around later, since if I determine that some of them are not this or that. As long as you get like somewhere in the ballpark, because these are all judgment calls right now. On the in between, on like the really like in betweeny ones. It's also an excuse to increase the amount of shots you will be drawing this week for practice. Mind you, if you're doing this, you're basically getting a head start on the practice. Why is it saving as a PNG? Saving as a PNG because I saved that duplicate earlier. It was annoying. Alright, so got that shot. Well, except for this guy over here. Let's include a bit of that. Now we'll move ahead to the next shot. Which of course is the big reveal of this horrifying moment of, like, of course now we're seeing how her perspective looking down through here, and like the hierarchy that we saw earlier is basically being subverted by this horrifying thing that is now from her perspective. Even though they're down below her, this thing is up above, framed in the shot. So this shot, I want to say that this one is a medium shot or even a medium full. I'm going to go with medium because the point of focus is this character here. And we only see part of her torso. You don't have to go super detailed with this, but it'd be a good idea to maybe include like perspective direction at the face and the shoulder tilt and stuff. We're just trying to get like a basic idea of stuff roughed in of what's going on here. And of course there's this bordering effect that's going on right here in this shot, so we'll get some of that in there. That's good enough for that. But I mean, like, this is something that people in the entertainment industry could probably recognize, or anyone on any career path. Like, your friends take a different trajectory from you, and you feel like you've been left out. There we go. That would be a we could say that's a close-up or a medium close-up. I'm going to go with maybe medium close-up because there's a lot of that torso visible. And while I'm at it, I'm going to maybe move this one down to medium. So how y'all liking this? Hope you're getting something out of this for sure. We'll also see if we can go over some paprika stuff. But I don't know. I really actually want to get to some of the filmmakers that Satoshi Kon inspired, or that are adjacent to him. if we can. But I don't know, I feel like playing Christopher Nolan would maybe like quadruple the chances of this feed getting copyright stricken, even though it is for educational purposes, so. I'm not concerned about detail, I just want to get the bare essentials in. There is this blurred character in the foreground here. I'm going to include that. The head of the character on the right. I didn't frame this quite right, did I? Your head's too big. That's close enough. I mean, not good enough to understand the basic nature of the shot. That's all you need. So we'll move on to the next one. Let's see what happens here. Okay. There's an action that happens here, but we'll just like focus on maybe this part. It is a camera move, so we're just going to pick apart from the camera move to use. This would probably be a medium close-up. Yeah, medium close-up because you can see more of the top of the body than you would on like a close-up. If you want to get a little bit of the expression, and you can just do like a crude dots for eyes thing or something. Okay, I'm going to need to move that over. The manager, unconcerned with what's happening right now, but checking his watch because they only have so much time to spend there. He's concerned with the passage of time. And the passage of time often gets warped and distorted in this film. But he's checking his timepiece because it's implied that he's someone who is more grounded in reality than fantasy. Than she is, or she's becoming. Let's get a little bit of the shadows on him, just for fun. I want to make it clear that this is an upshot, so I'm going to include some of the bottom of the chin, maybe. And the tilt of the shoulders here. For man's sake, I'm going to try to make it more apparent that this is a hand, and he's checking his watch. Okay, so what happens here? She goes off frame. Let's do this. This one about here. I think that one's a good one to use. So that one would probably be maybe medium full shot, I would say. Given that we can see part of the legs. Actually no. Come to think of it, that would be a straight up full shot. I think. No, that would not be a straight up full shot. I'm wrong. I'm stupid. This is more like an actual medium shot now that I kind of look at it a little bit more. Yeah, this is more like an actual medium shot. So, we'll go with that. We're gonna run out of space of medium shots pretty quickly, aren't we? That's fine. We can either keep drawing them because they're worthwhile to draw and learn from, or we can add more panels. I do like the kind of like the diagonal thrust into the frame that the woman on the left is doing, and it kind of hierarchically frames the three presences on screen. There's like an appeal to reality happening with these two, with that character looking at us. This character's oblivious to what's going on. And then this character is the fantasy distraction that the heroine protagonist is looking at, and that of course we are looking at and focused on. It's hard to ignore her against the backdrop of these two mundanes standing in front of her. And of course, waved in the background is like the mundane reality of the outside rain in the city. It's a lovely contrast going on here. You got reality in the foreground, reality in the background, fantasy right here. Which is in fantasy happens to be the brightest lit thing in the shot. I do kind of like they humanize these two characters by like putting like coffee and like that looks like it might be like a energy drink or something, maybe like vitamin water or soup, who knows, well, probably not soup, but maybe like a V8 juice or something. Like these characters are living in the real world, and they need to eat and drink and everything. This character had nothing in front of her, per se, because she's fantasy. Alright, so let's move on to the next shot. It's a repeat of an early... Well, this one is a close-up. What I like about this, check this out, look. Look at the character's reactions here. So it's a very, very human thing, and also a mammal social instinct. To when you read distress on the face of someone else, to try to look at what's distressing, to try to find out what's distressing them, and to try to look to where they're looking when they're distressed. You'll actually see dogs and cats do that too if they notice that you're in distress, or that members of their group are in distress and looking at something. So he's looking at her, and then he looks like haunted, like what's she looking at? She's seen something horrible. What's going on? He's concerned for her well-being too. He's confused, but genuinely concerned for her. So this will definitely be a close-up, like straight-up close-up. That's the thing, like a lot of the characters who kind of like control her life in this film, of her acting career, they're not really bad people. There's stuff that happens to her in the industry that she doesn't like. Her first acting role, she has to act out a rape scene, and it's really discomforting and traumatizing for her to do that. So, but the people around her who are trying to get, people around her, it was her choice to get into acting and to take on these mature roles to change her image and stuff. So the people around her aren't necessarily bad people, and that's actually communicated in the film. They're just working professionals, they're actors and they're directors and stuff trying to make a film. Yeah, except for the guy who did her photo shoot. He was a piece of shit. Yeah, I agree with that. Most of the other people in the film who are in control of her life are not bad people. They are part of a machine, though, that is kind of sort of wrecking this poor lady, though. This guy, at least on the right, he's definitely not a bad guy, though, in the context of the film. Do you think I should risk it and play the Christopher Nolan stuff later? That might be really pushing it. It's like Warner Brothers and whatnot, they're pretty strict. So in the past, when I've done stuff like this, I played some game trailers for Dota, 2D animation stuff, and I got music copyright stricken just for playing just about 5 seconds of music on the video. I had to trim it out. It was really stupid, but it's fine now. Really crummy drawing of him. Try to get more of his body bulk, I think. Maybe shrink her a bit. I don't know. I had a dream last night. I was part of an Inception-like heist, so maybe I should do it and live dangerously. And if I do, I'll say it's for educational purposes, motherfucker. So, let's make a judgment call about what this is. This is probably a close-up on the legs. I wouldn't say extreme close-up. Yeah. Chat seems to agree it is definitely a close-up. Actually, what time is it now? I want to keep the class to about 2 hours, so maybe we'll keep at this for another like 40 minutes or so, however long it is. But I'll be sure to make space for Q&A stuff after this. Let's see how much further we can get into this before we move on to something else, maybe. So some more of this. Close up here. Let's do another close up. Let's make these quick. You can just like do loose gestural stuff right here. Like I'm just kind of not even pick up my pencil. I get more of her face in there, actually. Hang over her head a little bit better, maybe. These studies aren't about making good drawings, though. They're about understanding the shots, and just kind of meditating on them a bit. If you want to make pretty drawings out of them, you can go back and do that later. Okay, so for this shot here, there's a lot of tricky stuff going on here. But because of where it ends up, we could technically break this up into 2 shots, but for the purposes of this, I'm going to drop this down into full shot territory right here. Just because of where the subject is, where we paused it. The real subject, I think you could probably argue that this is a long shot that starts off as a close-up. But how this is framed right now is very full shot-ish, except for the character in the background. That is definitely more long shot. So you can use a judgment call about when the frame that you pause on is a certain way, and whoever the focus of the frame is. I would argue that when our main character comes on, she's the focus, following, of course, the thing that she's chasing. But the audience is of course going to be sympathetic to her well-being and focused on her when she comes on screen following this thing. So if you notice, it's a blue hallway, red door, right over here. I also think that yellow might be used in the film too as indecision, because I think she like wears a yellow outfit when she's like not really made up her mind about what she is, but she's not. That's a white outfit though, so maybe don't read too much into that. Alright, that's good enough. So let's see where this goes. It's a really lovely action shot there. The setup. So where should we pick? Maybe about here. Let's do this and make that a full shot. Also, even though this is happening in like a really like suspenseful horror filmy way right now, or like for an action scene or whatever, what's happening right now is basically like almost kind of like a silent film gag with the setup of these two characters that are unperturbed by the fantasy floating by them, and then the protagonist just barrels into them and knocks the I think it's like videotapes that they're carrying, which is probably more symbolism. Lord knows this film is dripping with it. Good opportunity to practice a little. We just fit a little bit of gesture drawing into her here. I'm having a brain fart for a name, but what's the name of the protagonist in this film? Like Mia, I think? It's either Mia or Mima. But
it's Mima.
Mima. Yeah. Mima is kind of like an evil, and Mima's false Mima is like false idol Mima is kind of like an evil paprika in a way. I actually think we should do this one too. Why not? Too high up there. I want to do it just as an excuse to get a little bit of the rough gesture of the figure poses. This is some brilliant poses for what's happening here too. They almost look like they're dancing, don't they? Like if you told me this was if you told me these poses were like from an interpretive dance or something, or ballet. I think they need more room on the side here. And if you notice, one of them is dressed in red and the other one's dressed in blue. Actually, the dude has red and blue too. because of how this is framed, you do get a sense of the physicality, like the invasion of the space going on, and the contrast between the previous images with the calmness of the poses. Yeah, let's do that, I'd say. I think that would be probably a medium close-up, or medium close-up, I think. I think this one was actually more like a close-up, now that I think about it. No, actually it shows more of her upper body, so definitely a medium close-up. Alright, so this would be, I would definitely count this one as a medium close-up. Or even a medium. What do you guys think? Medium or medium close-up for this frame that we've grabbed for this shot? So I'm just going to do like a mannequin dummy for her, basically. Not overcomplicate the details on it. And get like a little bit of a quick rough hint of like a ground plane. Maybe get some of the tapes in here. You don't have to be super elaborate with these. I think the verdict is that this is a medium shot, from what people are saying. So I'm gonna drop this maybe down there. And what would you say about this one? I'll let the Twitch delay catch up for anyone who's in Discord listening. This one is probably medium close-up, right? Anyway, I'm going to move on to the next thing. Close-up. Very diagonally framed close-up. From how her head is tilting, anyway. Good enough. There's a lot of chaos going on in that shot. We might skip that one. Actually, you know what? Let's do this. That's an extreme close-up. Let's fit at least one in here. Technically, this shot is not an extreme close-up, but this is where it ends up at the end. We want to find some excuse to fill this out. I mean, technically, it does become an extreme close-up. Like, there's not any bones about that. Also, just a note real quick. Check out the scene transition here. So she goes off screen, and we see a quick clip of that guy. He's wearing red. We get a close-up of the belt buckle of this other guy who's also wearing red. Different character, though. Further down the hall. He's like kind of blurred, moving by us there. You know, let's do an extreme close-up of this, too. Why not? This man's crotch. You know, instead of playing the Nolan stuff, I'll show maybe some screen grabs from him to show what I wanted to talk about with how Satoshi Kon relates to Nolan, and probably Aronofsky also. I don't think we'll have enough time to maybe get to all of that. Let's see here. Yeah. Throw a ceiling plane in the background there. Behind the guy, poor guy's butt. So it wipes away to about like this. Let's see what happens here. Some interesting transitions happening there. We'll pick a moment from this to draw. Oh. Who are these guys? That might be a cameo. Right there. Like Satoshi Kon is known for putting cameos of existing people as background characters a lot in this film, so those might be some people either he knows or based on some existing people, some existing like known celebrities or something, Japanese musicians. So, we'll do this shot right here. Whoops, that's not going to be an extreme close-up. That is going to be a medium shot, right, folks? Yes. And now we're about to run off the page of medium shots. It's no biggie. We can either skip them to find other shots, or we can make some more room. But I'd say we've hit shot bingo on medium shots now. So maybe that's what we should do. Skip through and try to find other types of shots that might be in this entire sequence here. You know, one thing you could do when you go back through this, you could do it with tone or you could do it with color. I'll just do a quick demonstration real quick. You can go back through this again and do kind of stuff like this. It doesn't even necessarily have to be colored to the tones of the film, but just in ways that make stuff stand out. Like, let's make her hair really dark, except for her little kind of hair piece there. Might even do some shadow under the neck. Yeah, I'll leave that out actually. Yeah, you could do this for like every panel, going back through again. Just make them stand out and read if you like. You don't have to do it. I'm going to leave that optional for people doing this. But yeah, this entire thing here, try to fill out this with, that's your homework for this week, to fill this out. Next week we're going to actually be getting into constructing your own stories a little bit more. But I wanted to give a nice overview of the mechanics of these kinds of shots and stuff. Let me see how much time we have. We have about 20 more minutes, I'd say. I'd like to start taking questions if I can, actually. Oh, and I think someone actually subbed me. Very nice. Jojo Raw 881. Thank you very much for the Twitch Prime. It definitely helps. I think that was it. I think there might have been one other. Let me just double check. Nope. Yeah, well, thank you for the sub. Yeah, post them. There's a. Here, I'll show you what to do. So this is how I want the homework turned in. So on Ethan Becker's Discord, I'll bring it on screen shortly. Give me a second. Okay, on Ethan Becker's Discord, I'll bring the focus on my screen real quick. There's a area called opt-in channels right here, and it's instructions and command list right there. You're going to be joining Spaceball Furies right here, which is my group, my teacher group. So you go into the enter your commands channel and type ! Spaceball Furies. Like in here, like this lovely person did right here. Also, in addition to that, if you haven't already done ! Student yet, you do that and you'll get student pings from the server in the class announcement, but announce when classes are going to happen and stuff. Anyway, once you do that, and you can also do this for the other teachers that are teaching other classes and stuff too, you get access to my bloated amount of channels here, which I'm actually going to be simplifying for the next semester. Like, our semester will end after the next 2 weeks, and then I'm going to be on a break, and then I'll be reorganizing some classes for another round of semester of classes to teach. But you can see the homework assignment section where I post homework assignment postings. Some of them are kind of inconsistent. I'm still making this up. Still making up my curriculum as I go along. This is my first time doing this stuff, and I'm on week 4 right now. This is the tail end of week 4. Next week, Monday, will be week 5 for the figure drawing class. But once you're in there, you can find out what my class schedule is, which is Monday, 5:30 p.m. Pacific time, head figure and anatomy drawing. Wednesday is concept and character design. Friday is animation, and all 3 of those days are at the same time. And then Saturday, which is what we're doing right now, is at 2:30 p.m. Pacific time. Anyway, so where you would normally post the homework that you do is like for each of the classes in these. Like, if someone had posted some silhouette studies in there, this is like my own personal homework for a concept thing I'm doing. And I'm actually going to be animating that as part of my homework, my personal homework, in a profile walk, which I got started during the animation demo last week. This is for the animation class, people doing studies of walks, people doing profile walks that I give critiques on. There's someone who did a study of Bugs Bunny's walk, for example. Studies from live action walks. And I do critiques and draw-overs and stuff during the class, try to get to the ones that I can, and so on. And this is where you'll be posting the stuff. This is a fairly new one, so no one's posted anything here yet. So whoever gets to be first post here will have first dibs. So there's also an old archive homework section here, which I don't know if people are still using, but there's a lot of older stuff from previous things that I had people doing like in perspectives. This person's messing with a 5-point perspective and other perspective practice from the week in Storyboard class where we did perspective analysis stuff. It's really nice. This person did, trying to break down how the perspective works of like the animation itself in the scene. One of the walk cycles somebody did, which I thought turned out pretty good. There's drawing issues and stuff, and there's some issues with the pausing of the foot there, but overall it was pretty good. But yeah, anyway, so we'll get a couple more of these in, and I also want to answer some questions before I wrap this up. So let's switch it back so we can see the reference again. And yeah. Oh, and in addition to that, I'll give a quick plug to my fellow teachers. Actually, anytime you're getting you're in any of our classes in the Discord, there is a section up here. If I can find it. Here it is, classroom tip jar, right there. Our teachers of our different classes post their PayPals, their Twitters, their Twitches and stuff, where you can donate and sub and support them also if you're taking their classes. I recommend checking them out too, because some of them have more specialized skills than I do in some of the things that they teach. Yeah. So, without further ado, we will get a few more of these panels in, and let's maybe try to skip through and see if we can get some other unusual shots. Like maybe some extreme close-ups or some other weird things. So maybe we get like 1 to 3 more panels in before we call this quitting time. So actually, I want to maybe use this one as fodder right here. This kind of psycho staircase sort of overhead camera thing going on here. You know, Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, the famous overhead the staircase scene. And of course, the way the camera's turning kind of reinforces the direction the characters are going a little bit, but also is like really vertigo-y. So what kind of shot do you think this is, folks? This is a really strange, completely like top-down perspective overhead shot. What kind of a shot do you think this is? I would not even say necessarily extreme long shot. I would maybe even just call it a long shot. Extreme long shot would be like really pulled back if they were like ants or something, like but that is pretty much a long shot there, so we'll pause at a certain point here. We can't really get both the characters on camera very well, so maybe we'll just use this shot. Alright, so there is going to be perspective going on in this, so I'm going to maybe make kind of a cube effect going on with the room as we're looking down on it for this. And you don't have to get detailed with the staircase, because oh my god, staircases are tough to draw. I mean, you can if you want the practice. But I'm just going to put in a simplified kind of staircase. We got these kind of bands on the walls that are a framing device. What's that thing in the foreground there at the bottom? Is that like a light that we're kind of above or behind or something, maybe? Like a hanging light? I can't tell. There's a lot of attention to detail from the real world in this film. So we get about 1 or 2 more of these, but I want to show off a little bit of what I was talking about with Christopher Nolan and Darren Aronofsky before we vamoose. So I'm going to maybe get some grid in here. then maybe like checkerboard the floor a bit, so. Something like that, maybe. The top-down shooter paprika, or perfect blue. Oh, nice. Thank you, Haunted Muffin, for the Prime sub. It's very appreciated. Alright, so I actually did put that in extreme long shot. How about that? But I'm gonna make that I'm gonna say that that's a long shot. You could probably make a case for it, like when it's pulled back at the beginning, that it's pretty close to being an extreme long shot. You kind of have to make a judgment call about these for sure. Alright, let's see. What other unusual shots can we grab from this? Maybe we'll grab like one or two more. Oh, extreme close-up. There we go, right there. Extreme close-up in the mirror. Let's do it. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I actually really had a lot of fun doing this. I think it's always best whenever we do these with a lot of drawing and analyzing involved, because then I get to nerd out over shot composition and other things, or what the filmmaker was intending and stuff. In the future, I want to see if I can vet people who are attending, so that we can have more back and forth banter in the voice chat. I'm kind of silencing things right now for safety precautions. There are a few people who are able to speak, and feel free to speak up now, by the way, because right now I'm gonna open it up for Q&A if you are able to speak in voice. Yeah, totally. It's really, Haunted Muffin says it's really relaxing breaking stuff down. Yeah, because it takes the pressure off you to an extent, and you can absorb and learn. That's why Ethan is a big advocate of grabbing other people's work to break down and analyze. You should never plagiarize, but you can break down and understand and integrate some of the ideas that they have in their work into yours. Understand why they made the choices they did, and understand maybe why you might want to make a similar choice, or modify it, make it your own, or make a very different choice from the choice that they made. So it's literally learning a language. In this case, language of cinema, and also of animation for that matter. Kind of a weird close-up on her face here. She looks like she's got a double chin, the Meridur. Yeah, it's not my best work, but that's okay for the purposes of this. So let's maybe check one more shot, and then I'll show the Darren Aronofsky stuff. Let's see if we can find one more somewhere here. This is an unusual shot. There's a lot going on in it, but I don't know if we want to use that one, because that one's a very, like. What do you guys think? Do you want to do this one? Yeah, Studio Gimmick gives a vote for yes. Okay, we'll do it. Let's pick a moment from it to do, though. Let's see here. This is a very important shot, too. Like, what's happening here, the contrast between her kind of coming face to face with her mirror identity. Huh. I almost kind of want to do this, but then we'd have to do like all the time when their foot hits the water. And we already got a vote to do this. Look at that. Close up hand. There's so much going on. You could probably like spend like a whole couple hours like breaking down everything that's happening just in this animated shot alone. This might be great fodder to use for a future animation class, I would say. And that's actually the direction I want to go with my animation classes after we get done with the walk stuff for like future semester stuff. I want to do more analysis of this kind of stuff, and then trying to get people to create their own versions of some of the same ideas that are going on in these for animation. So, folks, pop quiz: what shot would this be? It's a judgment call, after all. People are saying medium close. I'd say that's about right. You could argue that there's more going on here, of course, and the shot changes inherently when the evil idol hallucination character pops up from behind her and hops into the background, and then our protagonist gives chase. But yeah, in case you couldn't figure it out, this film was a big influence on Perfect Blue. It was also a big influence on a lot of other Darren Aronofsky's work. This influence was a big influence on Black Swan, by Darren Aronofsky. But he was taking influence from Satoshi Kon for stuff even sooner than that. Like, reality and fantasy hallucination colliding was a big thing in Requiem for a Dream. And there's actually several shots in Requiem for a Dream that gave a really beefy arm, didn't I? There's actually several shots in Requiem for a Dream that homage Satoshi Kon. Let me move this off here. One of our other teachers actually just asked me in DMs for resources to study storyboarding. I'll give you some of those after this, actually. I will point people in the direction of some resources to further study storyboarding stuff. Because there's some books and also some paid classes you can invest in that would help, that are available online. And like paid tutorial type things, like audit classes and also like critique classes you can take. Never going to catch me drawing stairs properly. These are just going to be horizontal lines, okay? Stairs and spiral stairs. The bane of a draftsman existence. Stairs aren't that hard to draw, but they're just kind of tedious. Spiral stairs, on the other hand, oof. I mean, if you have the system in place to draw them, they're doable, but they're still really there's so many steps involved with that. It comes to the point that like just fucking trace a 3D model. Or just vectorize a 3D model. Someone asked, does the shift from blue to red on the stairs and the red tone room have any significance? I would say so. There's there's a lot of shifting back and forth between the red and the blue and the red and the blue, and throughout this entire sequence, if you notice, like her different aspects of her identity are coming into conflict. You're not reading into it. That choice was deliberate. Satoshi Kon is very particular about his color choices in his films. Like in Paprika, for example, he used a reverse psychology technique of when like the nightmare parts are brightly lit, like too brightly lit almost. The comforting, safe parts of the film are usually lit darkly, like the comforting warmth of a bedroom kind of feel to them. Whereas the nightmare is like stuff shouldn't be this bright. It's like unsettlingly bright and upbeat, like kind of manic. Like I can maybe show an example from that Paprika shots. I'm gonna have to be picky and choosy because there's some nudity in some of these. But I mean, like, a lot of the shots with the main heroine of the film are darkly lit. Like this one where she transitions into her alter ego Paprika. I mean, it does go brightly lit. Like, not every shot that's brightly lit doesn't necessarily means danger. But there is a big contrast going on here. Let's see, Paprika Parade. Okay, the parade in Paprika is this brightly lit, maddening spectacle that's like basically about like fantasy and distorted, disturbed reality colliding. Like this confused spectacle of images. It's almost like the refuse of culture, especially Japanese culture, colliding with the West, going on here, and it's all brightly lit because like and becoming like manic madness. Yeah, Satoshi Kon is really particular about the colors he chooses for his films, and he always has some kind of a theory or a philosophy behind it. Anyway, so I'm actually going to show the Christopher Nolan stuff I was talking about. This is a Paprika, of course, came out in 2006, and Inception's window shattering scene, or a glass shattering mirror scene, is pretty much an homage to that scene in Paprika, right there. Nolan actually does cite Satoshi Kon as an influence. Let's see here. Off. Ski. Satoshi Kon. So this scene from Requiem for a Dream is a direct homage to Perfect Blue right here. The screaming in the bathtub scene. There's a bunch of others too. People have picked out specific shots that reference Perfect Blue in like Black Swan. And there's a lot of similar themes in the film too. But yeah, I would strongly recommend anyone who is not familiar with Satoshi Kon's work to check him out. My personal favorite of his work is his TV series Paranoia Agent, which I would not recommend watching in the English subs because they change like the names of certain things so that the cultural context doesn't make as much sense. Like the main antagonist of the series was called Shonen Bat, which means boy bat, basically. The main antagonist of the series, Shonen Bat, gets named Little Slugger, which doesn't really have the same cultural significance at all, because like Shonen Bat, like that, the fact that it's called shonen of course, like implies some kind of like a almost like a manga anime sort of thing, like shonen, like boys comic characters or something like that. And a lot of the anime's themes is about subverting tropes in anime, including there's a few specific episodes that are like straight up supposed to be like subversions of like anime stuff. Like there's one character who's like an assistant producer or something in the animation industry, and he starts like going nuts. When he starts going nuts, his body starts breaking down and turning into a rough animation drawing partway through the episode. And another episode which starts off like kind of like a happy-go-lucky Studio Ghibli film with like these characters having like a wonderful adventure, and I better not spoil what happens, but it takes a really, really dark turn. Yeah, Paranoia Agent. I strongly recommend. And it's a wonderful series that it often makes use of juxtaposed images and really, really, really interesting symbolism and storytelling. And it's my personal favorite work of Satoshi Kon's. May he rest in peace. And on that note, I'm going to check to see if we have any more questions to answer, and then I will end the stream. So let me just check the classroom chat. 2 questions. How do you think editing and cutting shots? How do you think about editing and cutting shots when boarding? Also, I have a board more or less done. Would that be okay to post in the Storyboard class channel? Yes. You can post anything related to storyboarding in my storyboarding class channel, even if it's not specifically the homework for the class. If you want critique on your storyboards, I'd also suggest posting that into one of the feedback sections, or just asking for feedback in general if you're in like a drawing corner or wherever, and there's people in there who are willing to give feedback on storyboards or what their impression of your storyboards are. There's people of all different artistic backgrounds on the server, on our Discord server, so you're welcome to do that. And your first question is, how do you think about editing and cutting shots when boarding? I'm still trying to work that out, don't you know? Because I'm trained in storyboarding, but it's not my specialization. I'm here to learn by doing, all with the rest of you. I'm literally like reviewing and exercising and kind of meditating on. Romo asks, are 180-degree shots bad? Well, I have something to share with you on that. Do you know about the film It Follows? So there's a film called It Follows, which is a 2015 film. Here it is right. Here's the clip I wanted to show. But the story of the movie is that there's this entity that once it locks onto you, it will like stalk you. It will like walk towards you wherever you are in the world, no matter how far away you get from it. It'll be always slowly walking towards you, and when it gets to you, it will kill you. And in a really horrifyingly painful way, too. So the protagonist here is this girl who's been informed about how this creature works. And not only that, the creature will disguise itself as anyone to get close to you. There's a lot of like long shots in this film where you see someone moving in the background. Sometimes the characters are oblivious to that character moving in the background. You're not sure if it's the monster or not. But in this case, it definitely is. So she gets disturbed and she runs out of the classroom. And what I wanted to show you here is, so the 180-degree rule in cinema is when you cut between 2 shots where literally the camera is turning around 180 degrees. Normally that's really jarring, and you want to avoid that. However, there's lots of examples of when using that is a really powerful effect. There's a lot of like film school graduates that I'm gonna break the 180-degree rule, and you'll see that coming up a lot in like a lot of edgelord, straight out of college, young film school people and stuff. But but you can see the 180-degree rule broken smartly in a lot of stuff, and a really excellent example is in this film. And I'd love to play the music from it, but then I will totally get copyright stricken on this bit, because the music here is fantastic, and I would strongly recommend watching the whole film and, of course, the clip. I'm going to post the clip in classroom chat. I hope it whets your appetite for the film, because the film is fantastic. It's like a distillation of 1980s slasher movies like Halloween and stuff. Or like, that's a late 70s movie technically. But it's like a distillation of the themes from those. Like, the monster in the film is literally, like, it couldn't be any less of a special effect. Like, sometimes they use, like, kind of invisibility effects here and there because, like, only the protagonist can see the monster. Everyone else, like, doesn't. So check this out. 180-degree rule just broke right there. Broke again. Broke again. Broke again. Not really broke again. Kinda. It was offset a bit, but yeah, broke again. Yeah. And it works powerfully there, because like it's like puts us directly in that situation, like going back and forth between her reaction and that thing. And the camera's like if you notice, the camera keeps its pace moving down the hallway the whole time, following her with her. It puts you like right in the middle of the action in that scene. So like that's a perfect example of how, like, depending on the context and how it's used, any of the so-called rules can be broken to great effect too. Anyway, I hope that was visible, because I don't think I had the Cintiq focused on it, but yeah, check out the clip I posted in the Discord chat, in the classroom chat, for It Follows. I strongly recommend that movie. Let me see if there's any more questions I can answer before I skedaddle. Well, I might not answer any more on stream, because I actually want to wrap this up, but I'll be willing to answer questions after. So we'll wrap this up now. Alright, thank you all for coming. I will put us in the end credits now. Let's see here.